Hey everybody, and welcome back. It is Pete Toll, aka PT Sports 84, coming at you with today's NBA 2K22 official fifth ratings roster update. Today is Thursday, January 13th, 2022. Just want to go over the changes in today's update. I posted it in written form on Operation Sports under the NBA 2K22 official roster update, fifth ratings update thread. You can see all the written changes there if you don't necessarily want to sit through the video. But I wanted to make this for those that wanted to kind of know who was changed. One of the feedback notes I got last video was changing the view so that way you could see the attributes here on the screen. Now, I'm not going to scroll through and do all these attributes here. You can go to the Real 2K Insider, aka John Markish's video. He breaks down kind of the individual attributes and kind of what changed there individual wise. I just do the overview of who went up and down in overall and some various other stuff here and there. First up, 76ers. You'll see Tobias Harris went down one overall to an 84. Has really been kind of struggling this season compared to his All-Star season or All-Star like numbers previous. He's also a trade candidate, been in talks and things like that. I still don't think they move him, but we'll see. Seth Curry goes up to an 80 overall. Really would like to see maybe Curry go up just a tad bit more, an 81 overall. Would be nice. Surprised that Furkan Korkmaz did not go down when Danny Green did, in fact, go down. I think Korkmaz should have been knocked down with Danny Green. They've both been struggling here and there. Green has looked a little bit better, especially defensively. He starts, so you kind of have to have in line players in line with those numbers. But looking at the last player they changed, Charles Bassey got some rotation minutes with the COVID health and safety protocol situation going, so he bumps up 3 to a 73 overall. And then looking at Shake Milton, he goes down 1 overall to a 76. So he's right there in line with the rest of the bench players. Georges Niang been shooting pretty well lately, 47% in the last 7 games. So maybe he'll go up next update. The Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo goes up 1 overall to a 97 overall, deservedly. Drew Holiday finally gets a boost, goes +3 to an 86 overall. Thought he might have gone to an 87, but I'm okay with 86 because he's right in line right now with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, DeJounte Murray, those guys, Darius Garland. So, you know, if he continues performing, he's out right now, but if he continues his numbers that he's had so far, maybe not next update, but maybe the update after that, he goes up 87, 88. Chris Middleton, I thought should have gone up, maybe 1 overall at least to an 85, but he stays at an 84. Bobby Portis goes up 1 overall to an 82. Pat Connaughton goes -1 to a 79 overall. Grayson Allen dips down 2 overall to a 76. He's really been struggling. Jordan Nwora goes +2 to a 74. Wes Matthews goes +1 to a 72 overall. Thanasis Antetokounmpo goes -1 to a 72. He's really been struggling. Sandro Mamakashvili was in the rotation briefly. He goes +2 to a 71 overall. Rodney Hood goes -1 to a 70 overall. Really has had a poor season. Playing small forward and power forward hasn't looked great. Langston Galloway on a hardship deal drops 4 overall. He's been struggling, shooting like 20% from the floor. Has not looked great at all. He definitely won't be brought back. And then Javonte Smart goes +1 to a 69 overall. What's interesting is today, Milwaukee waived Javonte Smart to bring in Lindell Wigington, who's been phenomenal for the Wisconsin Herd. Wigington actually will take over for Smart as the second two-way player for the Milwaukee Bucks. So hopefully that gets added in tomorrow's update. If it does, I'll post a video for that as well. Going over to the Chicago Bulls. I'm looking at the Bulls here. They have DeMar DeRozan going up to a 90 overall. We've got Zach LaVine. I thought maybe he would go up one overall, but it stays at an 88. Nikola Vucevic goes +1 to an 82 overall. Kobe White has looked great lately. He goes up to a 77 +1. Derrick Jones Jr. goes +3 to a 77 overall. Waiting to see what happens with his injury last night. His knee buckled. I thought it was a torn ACL personally, but we'll see what happens. Tony Bradley goes +3 overall to +3 to a 75 overall. And then Ayu Dosunmu goes +1 to a 74 overall. The Cleveland Cavaliers, small number of changes for them. Ed Davis goes -1 to a 72 overall. Lauri Markkanen gets knocked down -2 to a 77 overall. Looked okay lately, but nothing that stands out. The biggest movers for the Cavs are +1 for Darius Garland. He goes to an 86 overall. And then +1 for Kevin Love, who has looked great in recent games. He's an 81 overall now. The Boston Celtics, no matter what happens, I don't know what it is, Jason Tatum will not go down. Jaylen Brown goes up +2 to an 87 overall. Arguably, he's been better lately to me than Jason Tatum. I thought that you could put both at an 87 or both at an 88 and be fine. Robert Williams goes +2 overall to an 82. Dennis Schroeder drops -1 to a 79 overall. It's been a poor fit with Boston. We all saw that coming, I think. Josh Richardson's looked great lately, 78 overall +2. We've got Peyton Pritchard +1 to a 73 overall. And they finally edited Romeo Langford, but he only gets a boost +1 to a 70. Aaron Nesmith should have 100% gone down. Personally, he should have been right in line with Romeo Langford, and clean that up a little bit. And I forgot one. Grant Williams goes -1 to a 75 overall. The LA Clippers. Lately, Marcus Morris Sr. has been on a tear. He goes +2 to a 78 overall. Eric Bledsoe surprisingly goes up 1 to a 77 overall, but then no update for Reggie Jackson, which really didn't make much sense to me. -1 for Isaiah Hartenstein, 77 overall. Terrence Mann goes -1 to a 76 overall. +2 for Serge Ibaka, who's been playing better lately, to a 76 overall. And Amir Coffey's the biggest mover. He goes +4 to a 75 overall. He's looked phenomenal the last few games defensively, and then even showing some scoring ability as well. Justice Winslow bumps up 1 to a 73 overall, and that wraps up the LA Clippers. Memphis Grizzlies. John Conchar gets another boost. He goes +1 to a 76 overall. Brandon Clark gets a nice little boost, +2 to a 79 overall. Dylan Brooks gets a bump. Where's Brooks? Right there. He gets a bump, +1 to an 81 overall. Steven Adams goes +1 to an 82 overall. And the biggest mover on the team and then Jaren Jackson Jr. goes -1 to an 83 overall. But the biggest movers on the team, Desmond Bane goes +2 to an 83 overall, has been great this season. One of the candidates for most improved, of course. And then Ja Morant goes +2, well-deserved. He's been killing it lately, really all season. He goes +2 to a 92 overall. Atlanta Hawks, starting things off, Trae Young goes +1 to a 91 overall. Clint Capella bumps up +1 to an 85 overall. Don't get this one. I don't understand. Gallinari goes +1 to a 79. Cam Reddish was traded this morning to the New York Knicks for Kevin Knox. He goes +1 to a 79 overall. DeLon Wright, don't get this one either. Don't know how he went up, but he goes +1 to a 77 overall. Kevin Huerter did not move despite playing well lately. Bogdanovich goes -1 to a 76 overall. Don't get it. If you were going to do that, you should have put Wright and Gallinari all in that range and then bumped up Huerter and then had Bogdanovich at a 77. That would have made more sense. To me, Gorgie Jang goes +1 to a 75 overall. Onyeka Okongwu goes +1 to a 75 overall. Lou Williams, in and out of the rotation this year, -1 to a 73 overall. And then Skylar Mays, who played a bunch during the COVID health and safety protocol period that we had over the last couple weeks, he bumps up 2 to a 73 overall. Miami Heat, I don't get it. What does Duncan Robinson have to do to get bumped back up? I don't know how he didn't get bumped up in overall to at least on par with these guys at a 77. That would have made sense. But guys that did get edited, Max Strus goes +3 to a 78 overall. We have Kyle Lowry going up. Actually, no, Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero, those guys are right in line, kind of where they were. I mistyped my notes there. I had them from the last update. Surprisingly, another one, KZ Okpala goes +1 to a 71 overall. Hasn't looked great this season. And then we have, where did he go? Kyle Guy, I thought was going to get a little bump up, but he did not. And Omer Yurtseven gets a bump +2. Yurtseven has really been dominating the rebounding department for the Miami Heat, and I'll be curious to see kind of how the rotation goes once Adebayo comes back and just kind of Marcus Morris is able to come back. Who, if Yurtseven goes back to the bench and they only use him maybe as a specialist, I'm not sure, but it seems like he's definitely earned some playing time for sure, especially being able to rebound the way he does certainly helps things a lot. But we'll see what happens there with them. Just want to update my notes real quick to who changed and who did not. Looking at the Charlotte Hornets next. The Charlotte Hornets, Lonzo Ball drops a 1 to an 86 overall. His scoring is down a little bit. Miles Bridges goes +1 to an 83 overall. Terry Rozier has been playing well lately, +1 to an 82 overall. Trade candidate, PJ Washington goes +1 to a 79 overall. Jalen McDaniels goes +2 to a 77 overall. Nick Richards climbs up again to a 76 overall. Don't really get that one when you got somebody like Ish Smith only at a 73. James Bouknight goes -2 to a 72 overall. The Utah Jazz, small number of changes for them. Donovan Mitchell did not go to the 90 overall club, even though I think he should have. Utah's been struggling lately, but I think that's more to do with Rudy Gobert being out than anything else. Bojan Bogdanovic goes +1 to an 82 overall. -1 for Rudy Gay to a 77 overall. -1 to a 76 overall for Royce O'Neal. And then -2 for Joe Ingles, who's been struggling. Another trade candidate for out there, guys to look for the trade deadline. Sacramento Kings, Tyrese Halliburton goes +1. Harrison Barnes goes -1. I think that's more to do with the position change. He's back at small forward now. Buddy Hield goes -1 to a 78. Rashawn Holmes goes -1 to an 80. Tristan Thompson goes -1 to a 77. Marvin Bagley finally gets dropped. He goes -2 to a 76. Biggest mover for the Kings, +3. Chimezie Metu, 76 overall. Davion Mitchell goes -2 to a 75 overall. And then Alex Len, who's been starting games, splitting time with Chimezie Metu, goes to a 75 overall, +1. New York Knicks, as I mentioned, they traded Kevin Knox. They now have Cam Reddish. That means they waive Ryan Arcidiacono from the team to make room for Solomon Hill. Whether they keep Solomon Hill, we'll have to see. But as far as the roster goes, Miles McBride goes +1 to a 71. Kevin Knox himself goes +2 to a 73 overall. Quentin Grimes goes -1 to a 73. Obi Toppin drops -1 to a 77. Evan Turner goes +1 to a 77 overall. And then Kemba Walker goes +2 to an 81. I think this was based off of the run that they had more recently before he was out, with injury. And then Julius Randle -1 to an 83 overall. And I'm surprised that RJ Barrett didn't go up more than, at all. He's been killing it lately. Probably go up in the next update. Should, then be on par with Julius Randle. The LA Lakers, Russell Westbrook drops again. -1, 81 overall. I guess the 2 for 16 shooting or 2 for 14 shooting, whatever it is, didn't help. His case there. I wish they would drop DeAndre Jordan. He's way overrated at a 77. Speaking of 77, +2 for Malik Monk. He goes up. Talen Horton-Tucker goes -1. He goes down to a 76 overall. Avery Bradley goes +1 to a 73. Trevor Ariza, the -1 to a 73. And then Austin Reeves +3 to a 73 overall. Thought maybe Stanley Johnson would go up, a point or so just because of his defense and hustle prowess, but he did not. The Orlando Magic, Admiral Schofield, who they added on a 2-way, previously was on a hardship, somehow goes, is at 70 overall. Then, let's see, we have RJ Hampton's not been playing that great lately. He drops down 1 to a 74 overall. Mo Wagner goes +3 to a 73 overall. He's been in the rotation lately. +2 for Chuma Okeke, +2 to a 74. Gary Harris has been playing great lately, +1 to a 75. Terrence Ross, +1 to a 78. Franz Wagner goes +1 to an 81. Cole Anthony drops 1 to an 81 overall. And then Wendell Carter Jr. goes -1 to an 82 overall. Dallas Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis goes +1 to an 86 overall, which, he's out with COVID restrictions right now. They say that he's healthy as far as being able to get back. It's just conditioning and things like that. So we'll see what happens and when Porzingis is able to play games, because they definitely could use Porzingis in that lineup for sure. I think that, he really can do some good things for them in the lineup. And he's a vital kind of piece of what they do because he's able to stretch the floor. Scores inside just a little bit, but we'll see. Jalen Brunson has been playing fantastic lately. He goes +1 to an 81 overall. Dwight Powell goes +2 to a 78. Dorian Finney-Smith goes +1 to a 76. Josh Green goes +2 to a 76. Moses Brown drops -1 to a 73. And then Frank Ntilikina goes -1 to a 72 overall. Would have liked to have seen just a slight touch to Theo Pinson, Reggie Bullock. Both of them should have went up. Trey Burke should not even be here. He should be a 73 at the most, in my opinion. You could debate the rest if you want. The Brooklyn Nets, James Harden goes +1. He's back in the 90 overall club. Thought he could go to a 91 or drop Kyrie Irving down. Irving hasn't looked great since coming back. No update for LaMarcus Aldridge. I thought he should go down as well. There are updates, for a few other players on the Nets. Patty Mills goes -1 to a 76 overall. DeAndre Bembry bumps up 2 to a 76. We've got Paul Millsap going -1 to a 74. David Duke Jr. goes +4 to a 73. And then Kessler Edwards goes +3 to a 72 overall. The Denver Nuggets, and this is unique. Rodney McGruder goes -1 to a 72 overall. He's actually going back to the Pistons. The Bol trade was basically declined this morning, even though it was official. The Detroit Pistons say that something's wrong with Bol's foot, and so they wouldn't approve the physical. Therefore, the trade is now voided. Devon Reed goes +4 to a 73. Bones Highland goes -2 to a 73. JaMychal Green, where is he? There he is. Goes +3 to a 76 overall. Facu Campazzo goes +1 to a 75. Will Barton goes -1 to a 78. And then Aaron Gordon goes -1 to a 79. Indiana Pacers. Let's see. We've got Malcolm Brogdon -1 to an 83 overall. Lance Stevenson, the biggest mover, to a 77 overall. Chris Duarte goes -1 to a 76 overall. O'Shea Brissett goes +1 to a 74. Kiefer Sykes is another big mover, +5 to a 73 overall. Then we have Goga Batazde, -1 to a 71. Dwayne Washington Jr., who's been in the rotation lately, +3 to a 71 overall. Small update for the Pelicans. Jonas Valanciunas goes -2 to an 84, while Herbert Jones is their biggest mover, goes +3 to a 76. Nickeil Alexander-Walker drops again, down 1 to a 74. Gary Clark goes +2 to a 73. The Detroit Pistons, Luka Garza is their biggest mover, +4 overall to a 73. I'm curious how they didn't touch Frank Jackson or Josh Jackson, despite both playing well and in the rotation. Trey Lyles +1 to a 76. Saban Lee goes +2 to a 74. Hamidou Diallo goes +4 to a 79. And then Sadiq Bey goes +4 as well to a 79. The Toronto Raptors, quite a bit of players moved around in this one. Fred VanVleet's an 86 overall, +3. Pascal Siakam goes +1 to an 85. OG Anunoby goes -1 to an 82, which I don't understand if they did that, why they didn't drop Barnes down to an 80. That would have made better sense. Gary Trent Jr. drops down 2 to a 79. Chris Boucher goes +1 to a 78. Shvi Mikhailuk goes -2 to a 74. Yuta Watanabe goes -1 to a 74. Delano Banton goes -1 to a 73. And then last but not least, Justin Champagny goes +2 to a 69 overall. I thought maybe he could be a 71 since he's played really well, especially rebounding in defense. Houston Rockets, Daniel Tice goes -1 to a 73 overall. Armani Brooks goes -1 to a 73 overall. Garrison Matthews drops back down to earth. He's -3 to a 74. Josh Christopher, who's been playing in the rotation lately, goes +2 to a 75. And last but not least, Jayshawn Tate goes to +1 to an 80 overall. San Antonio Spurs, Derek White goes +1 to an 80 overall. The biggest mover on the team is Keita Bates-Diop to a 76 overall. That's +4 for him. Lonnie Walker IV goes +2 to a 76. Bryn Forbes goes +1 to a 75. And then Josh Primo, one of the youngest players in the NBA, goes +2 to a 73 overall. Phoenix Suns, Elfrid Payton drops -1 to a 73. The biggest, tied for the biggest mover, +4, is Jalen Smith, who's now a 76 overall. And then the second one is Cam Johnson, +4 to a 79 overall. And lastly, DeAndre Ayton goes +1 to an 87 overall. The OKC Thunder are next. They didn't really get a lot of update. I thought we could have seen quite a few players. Baisley should have went up. Ty Jerome could have went up. Pokusevski could have went down. Favors definitely should have went down. Those are guys that I would have liked to have seen added in the update. But for now, +1 for Josh Giddey to an 80 overall. Mike Muscala gets bumped up +2 to a 76. Then we have Darius Baisley goes +1 to a 73, while Aaron Wiggins goes +6, their biggest mover by far, to a 74. Maybe even the roster update's biggest mover. Nathan Knight for the Minnesota Timberwolves goes +1. Taurean Prince goes +2. Or +1 to, or -1, I'm sorry, to a 72 overall. Jalen Noel goes +2 to a 76 overall. That's who I was looking at. I had them both on the sheet, and I flip-flopped the two around. Anthony Edwards goes back up +1 to an 85 overall. The Portland Trailblazers, Anthony Simons goes +1 to a 79 overall. Nasir Little goes -1 to a 76 overall, while Ben McLemore goes +1 to a 76 overall. And lastly, CJ Elabai goes +2 to a 70 overall. Not sure how they missed updating Robert Covington and Dennis Smith Jr., but they didn't add them. Golden State, Steph Curry's in his shooting slump goes -1 to a 96 overall. Andrew Wiggins goes +1 to an 83 overall. Otto Porter Jr. goes +1 to a 79 overall. I thought Bielitsa should have went down a little bit to like a 77. That would have been good. Gary Payton II goes +1 to a 78. Andre Iguodala goes +2 to a 77. And then Jonathan Kuminga drops -1 to a 74. Last but not least, we have the Washington Wizards. Let's see. Kyle Kuzma goes +3 to an 82 overall. And Raul Neto goes -1 to a 73 overall. it's interesting that guys like KCP and Corey Kispert and stuff, they didn't change at all in this update, but it is what it is. One thing to note, there are missing players in the free agent pool. And those will get added at some point. 2K, you have to understand it was a lot of players added, like 52 players, if I'm not mistaken, that were needing to be totally added. And so 2K is trying to get those players in. You got to work around, all the logistics that they have to do, multiple departments, things like that. So just remain patient. Those players should be in, like Brandon Knight and guys like that, that people have been asking for. There were a number of position changes as well in this update. Most notably, Kevin Durant's back at power forward. Kyrie got switched to shooting guard, while Anthony Edwards moves back to small forward. That opens up the two-guard spot for whoever wants to take it. But those are the major position edits so far. But I'll be back tomorrow with another update if 2K drops a roster update with like a lot of the moves that happened today. There, obviously the Reddish trade and a couple other odds and end things in there that were interesting to note. That'll change the roster around just a little bit. But if you've liked this video, please don't forget to like the video, comment below, and then subscribe to the channel. I try to put out regular content whenever there's a reason, like a big update or a patch by 2K. That way any offline roster makers kind of know what's going on and then can go from there. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk.